Hey everybody, this is Heather Sides. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Spokane, Washington. I come to you live every Wednesday night with 3 new ideas for you. Usually they're cards, sometimes there's a project in there. And I am here tonight to share with you 3 new ideas that I've got. I hope that you are all having a great week. If you are new this week, welcome. I'm glad you were able to join us. And if you are returning, thank you for returning. I love the little community that we're building here. Speaking of building the community, make sure you participate in the conversation during the live, or if you are watching a replay, at least pipe in and say hello. Tell me where you're from. I'd love to hear where everybody's from. Now, the incentive for you to do that is every week I give away a prize, and everybody who comments on during this video, whether it's live or on a replay, or whether it's Facebook or YouTube, I go in the following week, right before I go live, and I do a random selection for a winner of all of the people who participated somehow. So even if all you did is said hello and told me where you're from, your name goes in the drawing, and you may win the prize the following week. So with that being said, I'm gonna take just a moment here and get my computer set up to make sure that I am able to see what we've got going on, because I want to be able to read your comments. Now feel free to talk to each other, talk to me, ask questions, give suggestions, any of the above. It's just kind of fun getting to know one another a little bit. And looks like I'm on here. Let's mute me. There we go. And wow, we've got all sorts of people in here already. Welcome Marcia and Eric and Kathy. And let's see, Robin is here. Susan's here. Welcome everybody. So let's see. Oh, and Marcia is from Wisconsin. It's just, I don't know why it is. I just think it's fun to see how far reaching the internet takes us, right? So, Eric, I hope everything is going well for you in Oregon. I know you've got a lot on your plate, you know, and so I hope things are going well. Let's see. Big news in Stampin' Up! The new annual catalog comes out at the beginning of next month. So they have released what they call the last chances list. This is everything that's going to be retired, and a lot of it is at some pretty deep discounts right now. So if there's some stuff in the annual catalog that you want to make sure that you don't miss out on, and the same thing actually applies for our January through April mini catalog, because it also will retire at the end of the month. You want to make sure, check that out of stock, or that retiring list. Make sure that none of the items that you're eyeballing are on that list, because if they are, you'll want to get them before they retire. And even then, you may want to get them right away, because once they go out of stock, that's it, and they're done. So if they go out of stock tomorrow, even though it's not the end of the month yet, that's it, and that's all there is. So definitely check that out, especially if there are things that you have been eyeballing for a while. And you can see that list on my website, on heathersides.stampinup.net. I just realized the little thing I keep on my desk that normally has the monthly host code and my website and all that, I just realized I didn't put it on my desk this week. So I'll make sure to tell you those things as they come about. And also here on my Facebook page, I do update the monthly host code. So even though I don't have it on my desk here tonight, if you're going to place an order, I'd love it if you'd use that host code. I'll explain it a little more at the end, but that's tagged at the top of my Facebook page here, so you can see what that code is. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this turned around. We're going to do our drawing for the week and get going on our cards. They take a little bit of time tonight, so I don't want to waste a whole bunch of time. I want to get right into it. Pardon the messy sheet that I'm stamping on. Usually I try to at least start with a clean one. This was the last sheet I had, and I bought a whole new pack of them. Yeah, I bought a whole new pack of them and set them somewhere safe. So the good news is they're safe. Bad news is I don't know where that is. So we're going with a dirty sheet tonight. So, okay, let's get the camera turned around. Hang on. Okay. Get everything to line up a little bit here. Wow, I've got stuff really crooked, don't I? You know how I can't handle that. Okay, so let's see what I've got for you guys tonight. First, we have our drawing, and with this is some of our hand-penned DSP, and this was out a little while ago, but it coordinates with our hand-penned petals stamp set, and it's kind of fun. It's all black and white. It's one side is various prints like this kind of thing. The other side is simple prints like this. So it's just kind of fun. You can do so much with it. You can color it with your markers. You can stamp on it. You can leave it black and white, pop it with color with your cardstock. There's so much you can do with it. And then I put in some colorful little dots and some of our black or glitter ribbon. So today's winner is Nell Da Silva. So congratulations, Nell. I believe that I do have your mailing address. So I will check that. Usually I check it ahead of time and I just spaced it out today. But I will check, make sure I have your address. I think I do. And if I don't, I'll send you a message and let you know so you can send me your mailing address so I can get this in the mail to you. Okay. So the first card we're going to make tonight, see this nice messy space? It shows it's well loved. Okay, so tonight we're going to use the Eden's Garden stamps, and then we're also using the Painted Texture embossing folder and the Something Fancy dies. I really like these. They make great tags or backgrounds. There's a lot you can do with them. By the way, the Eden's Garden stamp set does have coordinating dies if you're interested. So let's go ahead and set these aside and get going on our card. Okay, so the card we're going to make right here, and it is using, I am just having a brain fade and I can't remember what. Oh, okay, it's using the Beauty, right here, the Awash in Beauty designer series paper. There's some really gorgeous prints in here. I just love the vibrant colors of it. It's so pretty. I absolutely love it. You can see lots of fun prints, some that are just a little more subtle background kind of prints. So tonight we're using this one. And let's go ahead and and let me show you the card. So this is kind of a fun fold. You open this up and you open it that way. So it's just it's a very simple fun fold, but it's kind of cool, I thought. So let's get started. Pull all the little pieces out here. Our card base is your standard card base. It's 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. It is scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Hey, John, welcome. Okay, so I'm going to take my bone folder here and give it a nice crisp edge. Then I'm going to take my trimmer, open up my card, and what I'm going to do is see that I'm going to take the crease line and I'm going to have it fit right at where the little groove is on my trimmer, and I'm going to turn my paper a little bit so the point right there and the fold line are both right in that channel, and I'm just going to go like that. So now that's my card. This, I'll put it away for use another day. Okay, next, let's do our envelope. I love this paper. I think it is so, so pretty. Okay. Now, get some glue going here. For those of you who have signed up for my Kaleidoscope Kit class, if you have not received your packet from me yet, you should be getting it any moment now. There's some extras in there for, all the extra cardstock and things like that for all the cards that we're making, the pieces that aren't in your kit, and you should be getting that shortly. I was missing I was short a little bit of the gold trim, the gold foil. And so my friend Talina mailed some out to you for me. So you will actually get a separate mailing with the little gold pieces in there, and I have marked which card that goes with, so you'll know, where to put it. Okay, so now we're just going to trim this off. The sheet that the strip that I just glued on is 2.5 inches by 6 inches. And I just glue it right on there, a little bit of my liquid glue. And I do prefer to use the liquid glue for this because I can squeeze it or, squish it out to the edges of the paper so that, it doesn't stick up and get caught in mailing and maybe get torn off or something. I really like the liquid glue for this type of thing. So there we go. Our envelope is done. Okay, throw away my little scraps. Next, I have a piece of the designer series paper, and this piece is actually 4 inches wide by 5 1/4. And here's what you do with that. We're going to cut very similarly to what we did with the card base. I'm going to get these 2 corners so that they both fit in the channel. Get them lined up like so. Pooh, it moved. Okay, let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so now I've got my 2 pieces right there. And we're going to go ahead and glue them down onto the card. Now, when I have pieces like this that have this tiny little triangular point, I really don't like it when the adhesive doesn't go all the way to the edge and then the corner of my triangle sticks up, gets caught on things, whatever. So I'm going to show you a little trick to work around that. I'm putting my paper back together, just like that. And now you could use your liquid glue to get in those little corners if that's what you'd like to do. The other thing is I just put it back together and I take my Seal Plus and I go in the corner like that so that it's getting both pieces as it rolls over the edges. So let's go ahead and put adhesive in the other places that I want it as well. And now it just comes apart. And you may have a little bit, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, but there's a little bit of the glue pieces that kind of stick out. Can you see it there on my finger? All you got to do is fold it back, just like that. I kind of went over the edge over on this side too. But now I have glue that goes all the way to that point, and I know that point is going to stick down the way I want it to. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and put a little sparkle on there. Okay, so first I'm going to line this up and put a piece right here. Like that. And then I'm going to take this piece and do the same on this front flap. Make sure it's straight-ish. Sometimes straight-ish is as good as you're going to get, especially if I'm the one trying to make it straight. Okay, so there we go. So you look like it just at a glance, it looks like one sheet with the little pink down the center. By the way, this is our, Blushing Bride. I can never remember the name of that color. Blushing Bride. Next, what we're going to do is I've got a few little pieces here. This piece is 2 3/4 inches wide by 8 1/2 inches, and it's scored in the middle at 4 1/4. So I'm going to fold it just like I do a card. Get a nice crisp edge there. And then, let's see, this piece is going to go on the inside. So I've got these little strips. Let's take care of the inside. Just a little tiny piece of our designer series paper and a little tiny strip of the Blushing Bride. And I'm going to put a little glue on here like so. And now put this on, layer it here. It's so much easier when my paper is clean because it just gives me a clearer background. Hey, Colleen, welcome. Okay, and now let's go ahead and glue this down onto that little piece of Very Vanilla. Every now and then I like to branch out, and instead of using our basic white, I used the Very Vanilla, which actually I thought paired really nicely with this paper, with this designer series paper. Okay, and by the way, the envelope that I used is also Very Vanilla. You can buy our envelopes in white or vanilla. I love our envelopes. I used to just, go to Amazon and buy inexpensive envelopes because I go through so many. But I found I just like ours so much. They're such a good quality. They're very like satiny kind of paper, and they look good. They feel good. They're heavy duty. My little line here's not quite straight. Okay, there we go. So if you need envelopes, I definitely recommend ours. They're not a terrible price. They are a little more expensive than just the cheap ones, obviously, but any good quality product is going to be. Okay, so now let's go ahead and glue this to the inside of our card. Our little mini card. There we go, just like that. Now let's do the front of it. I have a piece here. By the way, this green, this is our Mellow Moss. And this piece is 2 and, 5/8. I have to think this through. 2 and 5/8 going this way. And then it is 4 and an 1/8 this way. And then I ran it through my painted texture embossing folder. So just to give it a little bit of dimension on the front of the card. So now we're just going to go ahead and glue, we're not going to glue it down quite yet. Let's get this piece done. This is from the tags that I showed you, the Something Fancy tags. And we're going to use, kind of discombobulated here. I'm going to use this stamp, and then the sentiment Sending Hugs, and the Mossy Meadow ink. This is not a color I use a whole lot, but it seems like whenever I do, I'm like, oh, I like this. I should use it more. And then I don't, but I should. Okay, so I'm inking up my stamp, and then I'm just going to put it here kind of at the bottom, but sort of corner. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now this particular stamp set, if you have not worked with it before, it kind of looks like I didn't get enough ink on my stamp. That's actually the design of the stamp. It's very muted like that, which that's one of the things I really like about it. But just so that you know, when you go to stamp with it, it does look a little more muted like that. Did you bring me in a rock, Lucy? Again, we've got nice weather today, so I have my back door open, and Lucy is just kind of coming and going as she pleases, which is what that's for. And she's bringing in rocks. I have quite the collection, I should take a picture of it and post it on my Facebook page for you guys to see it. Hey, Mary. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp my sentiment here, just kind of toward the top. Hope it's straight. There we go. It's a little crooked, but that's okay. Okay. Oh yeah, when Lucy brings in her rocks, she gets on the couch and fights with them. So if you hear the growling in the background, yeah, that's Lucy fighting with her rock. Okay, so I'm putting some adhesive on here. I am putting a little extra, just because with this textured paper, sometimes it doesn't stick quite as well. Well, I know you can hear that. Lucy and her rocks. Okay, so this is just a tiny bit crooked, it looks like. Okay, so I've got this. Now I have this ribbon. This ribbon, you guys, I love it. I'm going to grab it so I can tell you exactly what it's called. This ribbon, it's just called soft polyester ribbon. It is so soft, you guys. It reminds me of like a baby flannel. It is just, oh, I could just sit here and rub on it all day. It's really, really nice. It's easy to work with. It's not super, some of the thicker ribbons like this end up being a little chunky and making your card a little bit too bulky, but it really doesn't. It ties pretty nicely. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie this one in a knot instead of a big old bow, because I don't want the bow to cover up that flower. when you tie knots, I don't know if you knew this or not, ha, good one. But yeah, it's still pretty cold here too, Sharon. But like right now, I don't know what the temperature is because I don't have, oh, I do have it on my computer. It says it's 49, but it's kind of sunny, and I do like to let Lucy be able to kind of come and go as she wants sometimes. So, okay, so I've just tied it in my little knot. Oh, what I was starting to say though is, I don't know if you realize this, but when you tie a knot, tie a square knot, because a square knot will lay flatter like this and just give you a more finished look. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my big scissors. My snips are getting a little bit dull. I need to get some new ones. Oh, that didn't go as well as I'd hoped. So they don't cut ribbon as nicely as one would like. So let's do this one now. Oh, I did it again. Goodness me. Well, maybe I need to have these scissors replaced too. Okay, I wish that was a little bit longer, but life goes on, doesn't it? Okay, now I'm just take my snips. I want to just get these little frayed edges. This is going to bother me. You know how I am. Okay, I have to just leave it alone. Leave it alone, Heather. Leave it alone. Know when to leave it alone. Okay, now let's go ahead and glue this down onto our little mini card here. Again, I'm going to use a little bit of extra adhesive because of that embossed paper. And I'm putting it on here. Yes, it is the same color as our card base. When I don't want to get something too busy and I just want a little texture, sometimes I like to do just same color on color because you're right, Sharon, I like the paper because it's pink. That never hurts. But anyway, so I just make it slightly smaller. So it does, if you're looking closely, stand out as a second layer. But it doesn't detract or distract your eyeball from where you really want it to go. Okay, so now the last step, I'm going to use my tear and tape for this part. You can use your seal, but pieces that I'm like, oh, is it gonna get loose as it opens and closes a lot? If there's any part of me that questions it, I like to use my tear and tape. Seal Plus is a very, very strong adhesive as well. So I think that if you used your Seal Plus, it would probably be fine as well. But if you've got tear and tape, you might as well use it for this because you know it'll work. Okay. So get the release tape off. Oops. And now what we're going to do is we're going to see how I'm putting this front flap in between the two. And that's just because I want to make sure I know where it's going to line up. And I'm just going to kind of try to get it pretty much the center of the card. Be careful laying it down though, because if you used tear and tape, remember, tear and tape is pretty unforgiving, and once it's down, it's down. And so if you didn't get it straight, it's hard to lift it back up. So there we go. There's our card. Easy peasy, right? So that's card number 1. Set that aside. We'll get going on card number 2. Okay, so for this card, we're going to be using the Blessings of Home stamps. I love this set. I think it's so pretty. It also has a coordinating set of dies, and we're going to be using that tonight. Right there. So let me set this aside. We'll get going. Now, this card is very, very simple to make, but it does take a little time. So I did try to do some of it in advance. I had hoped to do a little bit more in advance so that you didn't have to watch me do the boring parts. But I only got so much done. But we'll work with it. So again, basic card base, that's 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. Get that folded and get her out of the way. Now this one for the envelope, I chose to stamp on it, and I'm not going to leave it like this. This was part of what I did ahead of time, as is this piece right here. And you'll see why in just a few minutes. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take, let me see here. Let's go ahead and do the inside piece. And for the inside, all I have here is just a tiny little strip. It's 1/8 of an inch of fresh freesia. And we're just going to put it along the bottom like I often do, just to give it a little bit of color on the inside. Let me show, oh, I guess I didn't really show you the card, did I? So this is the card. We're going to layer some vellum over it to mute the background and then have the brighter piece on the front. And then that's our inside. So let's see here. Put a little glue on. Be sure not to put too much glue because you don't want it, when you push it down, you don't want it to kind of scoosh out all the sides and get glue everywhere. Ask me how I know. Okay, line that up. I think that looks pretty good. Let's trim off the ends there. Okay. Oh, thank you guys. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and glue this down to the inside of the card. Oops, get a little bit of glue. That glue is not getting in the corner there. There we go. Put this on the inside. I really like this light purple against this really bright, vibrant blue. The blue, by the way, is Starry Sky. It's one of our 2022-2023 in colors, which does remind me, we always have 2 sets of in colors in our catalog, and they are in there for 2 years and they rotate. So the set that was new last year, it will be here this upcoming year again. But the set that came out the year before that is going to retire this year. So the colors in that, just so you know, are polished pink, fresh freesia, evening evergreen, soft succulent, and pale papaya. If those are colors that you want to get before they retire, they are already on low inventory, I believe. So you definitely want to do that. We also have a lot of other colors that are going out at the end of the year or at the end of the month because we're doing a color refresh. They're bringing back some old favorites. They're bringing in some brand new colors, but they are also retiring some of the colors that are in our main lineup. So you can see what those colors are on my website. I need to get a post out on Facebook and Instagram and on all my social media so you guys can see it. But in the meantime, you can go to my website, heathersides.stampinup.net, and you can see what colors are leaving, what colors are coming. I don't know if it shows you the colors that are coming in, but it does tell you the colors that are going to be retiring so that you can get them before they're gone. Okay, with that being said, you know, Robin, I was really pretty proud of myself. I did not lay down on it. You know, that is a tendency I have, though. I have a tendency, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, if I leave my ink pads open, I have a tendency to lay forward and lay down in my ink pad. And it never goes well for me. It just doesn't. Okay, so now I have a little piece. This is just a scrap. This particular one I think is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. It just had to be big enough for my stamp. And I'm going to ink it up. When I've got a big stamp like this, I put the ink to the stamp rather than putting the stamp on the ink. It just is easier for me to control making sure I get ink everywhere. And then I put the ink pad away. And we just discussed why I do that. And then I'm going to line this up, make sure it fits on my paper. Okay. With your big stamps, make sure that you really, push it around everywhere so that it gets evenly stamped. Okay, I'm just cleaning off this stamp real quick. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I have a few of my Stampin' Blends, and I'm going to color these. Now, the pieces that I already did the coloring. I did the exact same thing that we're about to do now. So I'm taking the brush tip, and first, this is my dark soft seafoam, and I'm coloring in all the leaves. And I'm not completely coloring them in. I'm not being super precise. I'm just adding a little color to the leaves, letting it kind of fill in. Make sure I got them all. Okay, now I'm going to take my fresh freesia. Again, I'm using the brush tip, and I'm just going to color a few of my flowers purple. Let's see, this one. And again, I'm not coloring the whole thing. I'm kind of coloring the base of the petals where Stampin' Up! Has given sort of shading lines. There we go. And then I'm taking my dark Orchid Oasis. Now, the paper I know is the Starry Sky, but I'm using the Orchid Oasis markers because you can kind of see if I flip this over. Okay, I'll flip this over so you can see my dirty paper even more, but I want you to be able to see the difference in the colors. Those are the Starry Sky markers, and you can see the dark one is almost a navy. These are the Orchid Oasis colors, and I just felt like these were a little bit more in line with what I had pictured in my head for these flowers. So that's why I'm using the Orchid Oasis instead of Starry Sky. And I'm using the dark on, there's a couple big flowers here in this little bunch. And again, I'm just sort of scribbling on these shade lines. Okay. Let's get this big one too. And I know it looks kind of blotchy and gross right now. That's okay. Now I'm going to take the light Orchid Oasis. And honestly, you don't see a real big difference between the two. And even when it's all completed, I'm finding that I didn't notice a huge difference. But I did it anyway, I guess, maybe as a matter of principle. I don't know. Okay, so got those all colored in. Now I'm taking my color lifter. You guys have seen me use this before. The intention of it is to lift the color exactly as it implies. It makes it so the color's not quite so dark, not quite so opaque, maybe, I guess it would be a way to say it. You can see the difference, the before and after, how much softer the one on the right is. Almost kind of blurry almost. And that's what I was going for. So, and also in this, I don't know if you can see it really well on the video, but it does draw just a tiny little bit of that blue up into the petals a little bit of the ways, which also helps to soften it, to give it a little bit of blue. So first I'm going to start with my light color, and I actually prefer to use my bullet tip for this. I'm going to do the greens here. And I'm just scribbling it to kind of lift that color a little bit. It softens it. It's such a soft green that I'm doing right now that honestly you don't see a huge difference with the soft seafoam, even though it is the dark soft seafoam. And that squeaky color, or I'm sorry, squeaky sound. Okay. So you can see why I tried to do some of this ahead of time, because it can take a little while. And what I may do just to save us some time is kind of pretend with the other pieces and then fix them on my own later, just so that you don't have to sit here and watch me do this all night long. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do my fresh freesia flowers. And it's just softening that color a little bit. And again, you don't really notice a big difference, but boy, once it starts to set, you know, really absorb into the paper, you really can see a difference, because I showed you the finished one and how different it looked. Okay, let's get this guy here. And we'll get this little guy up here. Well, these little guys, there's a little trio of them. Okay, and now I'm going to go for my blues. Now with this, with the blue, as you're doing it, you can see it definitely softening, but you can also see, I don't know if you can see it very well on the video, but as you're doing this yourself, you can see it pulling just a little bit of that blue up into the white. And it is a very little amount. It's just, it tints it more than it colors it. And I just realized how I'm wiggling everything. Sorry about that. Hope I don't make anybody seasick. Okay, let's get this one here. But I'm just going over all my blues now, lighten them up. And it's funny because you can already see how it's making a difference on like that one over there compared to what I'm just now lifting. Scribble, 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 scribble. Yes, Joyce, fresh freesia is one of the, you're right. Thank you for pointing that out. I didn't even think about that as I said it was retiring. Remember how I said they're bringing back a bunch of old favorites? So even though fresh freesia is technically retiring because that assortment of in colors is retiring, fresh freesia is one of the ones that they're bringing back to be in our main lineup. So ignore me when I say that that one's retiring, because it kind of is, but it isn't. It's going to be in the lineup. So good catch. Okay. So you can already see a big difference with these flowers below compared to the ones I haven't done yet. And I'm definitely just going to do the other ones later to save you guys the trouble of having to watch me do this all night long. I like it a lot too, Sharon. I like blue flowers. I don't know what it is. Because it's not like there's a whole lot of them in the wild, right? I mean, there's some, but not a lot. But I just like when I'm stamping and coloring flowers, I really like coloring them blue. The other thing, I don't know if you noticed, is as I'm doing this, the lines that Stampin' Up! Drew on the stamp, as I'm lifting the color, you can see those again, where you can't necessarily see them before I lift the color. This is your musical interlude for the night. I need a good show to stream, you guys. I am out of shows, and there's not a lot of new stuff on right now. And I stream all day while I'm working. So I need something that I don't have to, like, you don't have to follow it too closely because I'm mostly only listening. But I need a good show to watch. So what are you guys watching? Right now I'm watching Disney shows just because I'm out of shows, and I was watching, I don't know, some Disney movie about, you know, these high schoolers going to prom or something. Here I am 50 years old watching this. My son comes out and he's like, Mom, what are you watching? And then I have to defend my preteen choices in television viewing. Okay. But I like, just to tell you what kind of stuff I like reality TV contest shows, you know, like Survivor and well, I've never watched Big Brother, but I like Survivor and Amazing Race. But I also like the ones that are a little bit cheesier, like, what's that one called? The Circle. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. It's on Netflix. It's like a social media type of one. Night Agent. That one was good, huh? I said, you know, it's funny. At first, I didn't really know what to think of it. I hadn't seen anything about it. But I did recently see something that was commenting on it being really, really good. On this bigger flower, you can kind of see it pulling some of that blue back onto the petal a little bit. I mean, it's very, very faint. Like I said, it's more of a tint of the blue rather than coloring it. And when you finish, it's not done. You might be done, but it's not. It will absorb a little more as you're going. I can promise you when I finished last night, the before one that I showed you, this one, it didn't look quite that spread out yet. So it does spread out and soften a little bit more even. Okay. Now, just for the sake of time, like I said, I'm going to kind of do this in a way that I'll be able to come back to it. But I would do the same thing on this piece, and I would also do it on my envelope. And you can see that I did that on the card. Here it is on the envelope, and then here it is, this back piece right here. Okay. Like I said, though, just for the sake of this card, for time, I'm going to skip that tonight. Okay, so now I'm going to take my die. And I'm going to get my Post-it tape so that I can tape my die in place. Get it where I want it, and then I want it to stay. Some of these are a little harder to line up because they're made in a way to give you a halo around the flower. And then I don't get it quite right. Oh, and I didn't tear my tape ahead of time either. That's okay, that'll work. That'll still work. Okay, let me get my cutting machine. And tonight I'm using the mini one because this piece will fit through the mini one. We have them both in mini and full size. You know what? I watched The Secrets of Sulphur Springs quite a while ago, and I like shows like that. Yeah, they're more for kids or families or whatever, but I like them. I enjoy the content. It's nothing I have to think too hard about. If you like The Secret of Sulphur Springs, another one you might like is on the Hallmark Channel right now, and it's called The Way Home. And if you can watch that, that's been a great show, and it's about to wrap up with its final episode of the season. So if you have like Xfinity, you can probably watch it on demand. Oh, Sharon's been watching ER. I haven't watched ER in a long time. No particular reason, just haven't, I guess. Okay, so got that done. Let me put the pieces away really quick. And I'm going to take this off. There we go. Oh, John's watched it. I am really eager to see the end. I think this week, or maybe there's not an episode this week and it's next week. Anyway, I think whenever the next episode is, I think it's the last one. This one is still a little bit darker than what I like, so I'm just gonna go over it really quick. There. That's better. Okay. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fresh freesia. Oop, I'm going to dance with my fresh freesia there. And I'm going to take this piece right here, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. But because I want to be able to come back and fix this later, I'm going to use my Post-it tape so that it's only temporary. Okay, so I'm lining it up. And of course, this would all be softened already. And then I have a piece of vellum. And I'm going to take my vellum and I'm going to tear the edges. And I'm just tearing about, gosh, 1/4 of an inch maybe off of every edge. And I'm doing what I call a guided tear. I don't know if that's really what it's called. It's just what I've always called it. And you can see how I'm kind of guiding it with my thumb to make sure that it doesn't go all wonky all over the place. Now I'm going with the grain of the paper right now, going this direction. And so it's tearing pretty nicely on its own. You'll see when I do the other ends though, it's not as straight, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. But just know that when you're going against the grain, it's a little harder to control it. See how it's just not as straight of an edge? And again, I don't mind that. I think it gives it kind of a natural sort of look. Let me just get this edge here. But just so that you know that and you're not shocked when you think you're doing something wrong. You're not. You're just going against the grain of the paper. Okay, so I've gotten all 4 edges because now I'm just going to lay it over my colored piece just like that. Okay? And then I'm going to... Again, I'm going to take my temporary tape. And what I did to line this up is I just kind of put my flower here on the vellum to figure out where I wanted it. I flipped it over, and then I put all my adhesive on the back of the vellum this way so that I knew it would be covered up by the flower. Okay? There we go. And then what I did is I took this ribbon. This ribbon came out with our annual catalog last year, and it's so funny. It came out in all of the new in colors. And I don't know, it just did not call to me. And all of a sudden lately, it has been calling to me. Oh, I like Jag. I really like Jag. So anyway, lately this has been calling to me. They're all 5 of the colors are metallic like this one is. And I just think this blue is so pretty, pretty, pretty. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to wrap this around about 3 times. Did I only give myself enough to do it twice? Okay, well, there we go. It's only wrapped twice. Whoops. And then what I'm going to do is I would take my tear and tape normally, but in this case I'm using my Post-it tape. Make sure I pulled it tight. And then I use my tear and tape just to tape it down to hold that ribbon in place, just like that. And then I'm going to take dimensionals, and you can use your foam adhesive sheets, which I typically like to do. But with this one, because there's so many weird little edges like that, I decided to go ahead and use my dimensionals. Again, like usual, I'm probably putting way more on than what I actually need, but that's okay. I'm okay with it. And then put some down the center so it doesn't sag. There we go. Okay, now if I was doing this for realsies, I would take my adhesives off and then just lay it right back down on there. And it's gonna look like that, but it still needs a sentiment, right? So I'm gonna set that aside. I'm gonna pull out my Starry Sky ink. You know what, I have some things that need to get put away first. Put my dies away. Okay, and the stamp that I'm using is this one that says "Have a Perfect Birthday." And I'm just going to stamp it on here. A little tip, oh, that's crooked. No, that's okay. A little tip I'll give you when it's a really fine print like that, I find sometimes it ends up a little blurry if I press too hard. So make sure you're pressing softly and you're not rocking your stamp, because that will cause it to blur a little bit. So just do straight out, straight down, straight up, and not too hard. Okay. See, this would be another one I'd lay down in because it's a nice bold color. Okay. And I like all the smiles and excitement too, Sharon. It makes me feel good. Okay, so now I'm going to take my snips and I'm just going to cut little angles here for my tag. And I want, let me show you what I want to do here. I want it to overlap a little bit over these flowers. I'm going to use dimensionals on one end, like under the word birthday, but not under the rest of it, because if I do, then what'll happen is this end will be up higher than this end, because it'll essentially have two layers of dimensionals under it because of the dimensionals under the flowers. So I'm going to put some dimensionals here just on the one end. Okay. See, like that. And then put a little glue on this end, just because I don't want it to get caught and flop upward. There we go. So I'll put it right about there. It's a little wonky since I haven't really adhered everything down, but you guys get the idea. You guys are smart. I know you know. Okay, so it's like that. Then what I would do is take my adhesive. You know what? I'm going to put a little bit of my, get my temporary out here so we can at least pretend it's put together, right? So let's put it right here. And we'll put a little bit down here. Like that. And then, again, I would normally use my my snail adhesive on the back of my card, or the card front piece. Gosh darn it. Thank you, Sharon, or Susan. I really like how it turned out. I was pretty tickled with it. Okay. And that's how I finish it. Now, again, I'm going to bring up the one that is completely done because even muted a little bit by the vellum there, I don't like how dark the color is. So when you have gone over it with your blender or your color lifter and you've done the vellum, oh, and we got to put some little gems on here too. It all just ends up so much softer when you do that. So let's go ahead and put some gems on here. These are our opaque adhesive backed gems. And for this, I just didn't really have any embellishments that were the color that I wanted. So I am taking my dark balmy blue and I'm going to color, let's see, I already have one blue one left over from last night. I'm going to color another one. And you do need to do a couple of layers, especially with these ones, because that white really, really shows through. And I'm going to do 3 of the small ones. What I would suggest doing, because you do need to do a couple different layers of color on these, is maybe do them first. That way they dry and everything. Because if you try to color another color while it's still wet, or another layer while it's still wet, it just lifts that color up. So maybe do your first layer at the beginning and then come back when you're ready to put them on your card. Okay. And now I have the color of gems that I wanted. So I'll use my Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to pick them up. They don't take too long to dry, just so you know, because it is alcohol-based ink and therefore it dries pretty quickly. Let's put one right about there. And we'll put another big one right up here. Whoops. Nope, I thought I had it upside down for a minute there. And then we'll put our little ones kind of scattered about. Maybe one there, one over here. And let's put one right next to that big one over here. There. So this is your finished card. Well, it would be if I'd gotten all the coloring finished. But there you go. Isn't that beautiful? I love this card. Love, love, love it. But it does take a little time. Okay. Clean this up and we'll get ready to do card number 3. Now our final card tonight is another fun fold, and we're using the Regency Park Designer Series paper. That this paper, well, all of our Designer Series paper is retiring at the end of the month because the new annual catalog, our new annual catalog never, I shouldn't say never, I have seen it done once before, but very, very, very rarely does a new annual catalog bring back old Designer Series paper. They usually go ahead and cycle out the previous year's paper to bring in all new paper. So if you like this is in the, and I love this paper. I think it's just so fun and pretty, and it's got lots of flowers. Let me show you here. If you like this, you definitely want to get it before the end of the month. It's in the January through June mini, or January through April mini catalog. See, you can see some of these prints here. But when this catalog retires at the end of the month, so does this paper. So see, just flowers and some basic prints and big flowers and little flowers and a good variety of colors too. So I love this paper. Okay. Then, bear with me here. Okay. I thought I had ended up with extra bags and I couldn't figure out where they came from. Now this card doesn't use any stamping at all, but it does use, this is Amazing Frames. It's really called Amazing Thanks dies, and I love them. It's got the word amazing, thanks, and you are. So you could do you are amazing, you could do just amazing. I've even seen them take, somebody cut off the S on the thanks and use thank you. Okay, so this one uses the hot dog fold, as it's called. It is a basic piece of, you take a sheet of cardstock that's 8.5 by 11. It's cut in half lengthwise, where with the standard fold, it's cut horizontally. We're going to cut vertically. So it's 11 by 4.25. And then my score line is at 5.5. Okay. Get a nice crisp edge there. Get all my little pieces out. And this is the card. So we've got a cute little envelope there, and the card opens like this. Okay, easy to do. There are a lot of pieces to it, but it's easy to do. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll do the envelope first. Okay, a little bit of liquid glue along the edge there. Oh, I was getting a little too close to the edge. I don't want to get so close that it squishes out onto the rest of the envelope, but I do want it to be close enough that the edge of my paper stays down. I think this is my favorite print in the whole pack. I love it. Okay, and now we're going to just trim off the extra. Go around that little curve there. Boop. Okay. Just a little bit there. There we go. Okay. Get rid of these pieces. Okay. Now, let's get started on all the inner workings of our card. I've got my this is the Blushing Bride. No. This one is Petal Pink. Am I lying? No, this one is Petal Pink. And I always get confused because in my mind, we have two pinks that are kind of similar. Yes, John, I just saw your question about could I have used the deckled dies on the vellum? Yes, that would work as well. But anyway, we have two pinks. There's Petal Pink and Blushing Bride. And I think the Blushing Bride looks like more of a pink, and I think the Petal Pink looks more like a blush. So I always get them confused. So then I also have this piece of Designer Series paper. These pieces are all from the same pack, by the way. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this down. That little polka dot is so cute. Okay, and this is just going to go on the inside of our card. Oh, but before we do that, we have to cut up our card again. So what I'm going to do is I want to cut off half of the front. So this is 5.5 inches. So half of that is 2 3/4. So I'm just going to cut that right there. I guess it looks like it's off the frame, so you can't see that I'm doing that. So 2 3/4. So now this is my card, okay? And I'm actually going to use this piece on the card also. So let's go ahead and take this piece that we just did and glue it to the inside. We're going to line it up. There we go. And then I've got, I have two pieces of this Night of Navy. One is the piece that we just cut off, and then the other is another piece of the exact same size. So it's 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. And one of them is going to be the inside of our card. So I have this cute little strip, 1/4 of an inch. And there's my glue. Let's put a little glue on here. Okay. And I'm just going to line it up along the bottom. I like to leave a little bit of a white edge sometimes, but that's up to you. If you want it to go all the way to the edge, you certainly could do that. There we go. And now I'm just going to glue it onto this piece of Night of Navy. Center it on here. And now we're going to glue this to the inside of our card and just center it. Centered-ish. There we go, just like that. Now, let's do the next section. I have a piece here. This is 2 1/2 by, did I do 2 1/2? Let me check. Oh, these are the wrong measurements. Let's see what I did. Yes, so this piece is 2 1/2 by 4. And then this piece with the designer series paper is just slightly smaller. It's 2 3/8 by 3 7/8. And we're just going to glue it down onto the piece of petal pink. Just like that. And now we're going to just glue that right down onto the front of our card. You want to make sure it lines up with that piece that's on the inside. There we go. And we're ready to get going on our final piece of it, you guys. So here's that last piece of oh, she's fighting with a rock again. Lucy, honey. Okay, so I've got the Night of Navy that is 2 3/4 by 4. Then I have a piece of petal pink that's 2 5/8 by 3 7/8. It's going to go right on there. And then I have, hold on, I might be lying. I might have done that a whole 1/4 of an inch smaller. I did do it. Okay, scratch what I just said. This piece is 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. This piece is 2 1/2 by 4. This piece right here is 2 3/8 by 3 7/8. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this one down. And now we're going to glue this onto the Night of Navy piece. You know, it's funny, some of our colors, thinking of the color refresh, some of our colors have been around for ages. Some of you guys know that I used to be a demonstrator about 15 years ago or so. And then I got out for a little while just because my kids got to an age that they were very active and I needed to be able to do stuff with them. And then just came back into it a couple years ago. Night of Navy is a color that was around way back when I was a demonstrator before. There are a few of our colors. Night of Navy, Old Olive, Real Red, Crumb Cake. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So Saffron was around then. So some of these colors, if you haven't been with Stampin' Up! For that long, you don't realize that they have just been staples of our color families for a long, long time. Okay, now make sure that you only put your adhesive on half of this, because remember, if you put adhesive on the whole thing, when you close your card, it's going to close shut. So I'm laying this over the piece on the inside, because I want it to cover up that piece when the card is closed. Ta-da! And there we go. Okay, now here's the part where you get to get involved. Last night, when I was doing the thanks message on the front, I played with a bunch of different colors. I cut out both pieces. There's two pieces to this that they overlay. You cut out the detailed letters that I have here in the balmy blue, and that's this piece right here. And then there's this piece that looks like big bubble art that goes behind it to kind of offset it, give it a matte. So what I did is I cut both pieces in Night of Navy, both pieces in balmy blue, both pieces in petal pink, and both pieces in white, because there was some white there. And I just wanted to play with them and did all the combinations and assortments to see what I liked best. And I narrowed it down to liking the balmy blue on the Night of Navy, and I liked the Night of Navy on the balmy blue. And I couldn't decide between the two. So what I did is I went, you know what? I'll make one this way. We'll make the other way. And we'll just see when it's all done what you guys like best. So I'm going to go ahead. I've already glued these two pieces together. They just, one lays on top of the other. You just want to use very little dots of glue when you're putting them together, because it's just such a fine piece. You don't want glue getting everywhere. And again, at least with this piece of it, you've got a little bit more room for your glue. But I'm still not using a whole lot. Oh, I didn't realize that, Judy. Judy said that Night of Navy, or Garden Green and Old Olive were original colors when Stampin' Up! Started. So what was the third color that's still around? She said there's 3 left that are still around. What was the third one? Okay. Mary says she likes the navy on the balmy blue, which was this one here that I already did. No, navy on the balmy blue is the one I'm doing right now. So I just put it on there kind of at an angle, sort of centered. And then, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know what, you guys, this is so funny. I did the balmy blue dots on this card. That isn't what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to put the purple ones on this card. So I'm just going to take them off and use them for this card. I was so discombobulated by not doing the whole card, you guys. That just really confused me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them on here, take them off. They come off pretty easy when you use your Take Your Pick tool. Just another reason that I love my Take Your Pick tool. It's like, I know I have a 5th one there somewhere. There. So this one is done, and I'll fix this one later, but I was supposed to use these fresh freesia dots on there. In fact, let's do it now. Let's just do it. Let's see, I had one there, and another big one right there, and then I used the little ones everywhere else. There we go, with the fresh freesia instead. Wow, I just was kind of out of control tonight, wasn't I? Okay. All right, so I'll put those away. Now I'm going to bring back my sample card because I want you guys to see them side by side and see which you like better. Do you like the navy on the balmy blue or the balmy blue on the navy? What do you think? I'm just kind of giving you guys a minute to look at it. Real Red replaced Rocket Red. Yeah, Real Red has been around since way back then, since I was a demonstrator before. Thank you for the rock, Lucy. Just have to show you guys, see, this is the latest for my collection. Lucy, you're silly. Okay, so let's see, we got some votes coming in. We've got navy. So it looks like, so far we have 2 votes for the navy on the balmy blue, another navy on the balmy blue. Susan earlier said navy on balmy blue. So it looks like the navy on top wins. Yeah, I like them both, but I do think I like the navy a little bit better. So anyway, they're both winners though, I think. All right, so let's clean up a little bit here. We'll take a look at everything we made tonight. I promise to have my act together better next week. Goodness gracious, what's wrong with me tonight? Okay, so we have this one that we made. We also have the one we just did. And then this beautiful little fun fold. My little tie is going a little wonky right now. So there we go. There's the cards that we made tonight. Which one's your favorite? Kathy said she couldn't decide which thanks she liked better. She liked them both. See, that was my problem last night too, Kathy. So those are the 3 that we made. If you liked what we did tonight, I'd love to see some thumbs up and some hearts and all that good stuff. It makes me feel good. It also tells the Facebook and YouTube algorithms that, hey, this is something people like. More people may want to see it, and they put me out there. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so that you know whenever I put out new videos. Also, if you click on that little bell icon, that's what notifies you that I've put something new out. But I'd love it if you'd subscribe over there as well. So Susan says her favorite card is this middle one. And you know, Susan, I kind of agree with you. Thank you, everybody. I love that you liked what I did. I really enjoy spending my Wednesday nights with you guys. If you want to order any of the supplies that I use to make these cards or something off the retiring list, any of that kind of thing, I would love to earn your business. And you can shop at my website, which is heathersides.stampinup.net. Like I said, normally I have it written down here for you, but you can also go to my Facebook page to get that information. My Facebook page is just facebook.com/stamphappenings. And on there, it's got the link to my website. It also has a little post that tells you what the host code is for the month. Now, the host code, if you are placing an order under $150, if you use that host code, that helps me a lot. That is what helps me to continue to provide these videos for free and prizes and things like that. But if your order's over $150, please don't use the host code. If your order's over $150, you will have free products coming to you from Stampin' Up. I want to make sure that you're the one who gets them because you're the one who earned them. So definitely check out my website to know what's happening on the retiring list and all that good stuff. I hope to see you guys all next week. Have a great week, everybody.